Okay, so the title of my presentation is Urban Soundscapes, Place or Placeless. And to begin with, I think it's really important to define what a soundscape is, as many of you may or may not be familiar with the term. Analogous to the concept of landscape, the soundscape is the relationship mediated through sound between living beings and their environment. Like a landscape, a soundscape is simultaneously a physical environment and a way of perceiving that environment. Sound as sensation is an important part of our everyday experience, and it provides us with information about the world around us. Sounds deeply enrich our feelings and our emotional responses towards places that we encounter, in addition to influencing our moods and our behaviour. For example, sound can stimulate frustration, anxiety, fear, boredom, and tranquility, instill a sense of tranquility. Now, sound dramatises an individual's spatial experience. That's a concept that's sort of drawn from Ifu Tuan, and it plays an integral role in bringing places to life. Soundscapes can reinforce the relationship between people and their surrounds, because in an acoustic environment, we're always at the centre. Unlike vision, where we can close our eyes to the world around us and block things out, our ears are always open. Sounds can expand and enrich a visual space, as it enlarges an individual's spatial awareness to include areas behind the head that we cannot see. Different sounds from different sources, each with different characteristics, penetrate us from all directions and at all times. Now, if a place evokes a unique sensory experience or gains an individual's attention, this can resonate in fond memories towards a place, and the individual can bestow value upon that location, and effective bonds towards such a place can begin to develop. Urban environments with high acoustical qualities are a scarce resource that need to be creatively planned, designed and maintained to enable an urban experience that is a fulfilling and enchanting one. Ensuring that the public has access to quality soundscapes not only enriches the design possibilities in contemporary urban environments, it can also improve the quality of city life. Urban practitioners should be striving towards creating an urban fabric that will delight those who experience it. And it's really through the senses that this experience is made possible. As the quote on the screen reads by Stephen Feld, "As place is sensed, senses are place. As place makes sense, senses make place." Creating places that infuse a rich sensory experience and evoke positive emotional responses for users is essential to ensure that places generate positive meanings for the people who experience them. Such places encourage people to dwell and to linger and to connect with one another. They provide opportunities for social interactions and are important for our health and well-being. Now, Hildegard Westerkamp, who is a prominent soundscape researcher that sort of started looking at this in the 1970s, she explains that soundscapes are an acoustic manifestation of place, where the sounds give an individual a sense of place, and the place's acoustical features are shaped by the interaction between the individual and that place. When we experience a strong and positive sense of place attachment can begin to develop. Now, as I'm finding in my current research on urban soundscapes, people value places where they can expect to have high-quality acoustic experiences. They seek out these places, and in a sense, they're viewed as an acoustic oasis nestled within the urban environment, as illustrated by this quote by one of my research participants. "These little places are definitely an oasis from the noise, where you really get to hear and connect with the beautiful birds and the water and the social conversation." Now, places that lack quality acoustical features might appear to be boring and unengaging. A place dominated by negative sounds may appear unattractive, even though visually it's pleasing to the eye. Awareness of this is instrumental, as how a place looks does not necessarily determine the perceived quality of a place. People can be deeply affected and touched by the soundscape. Now, with an increased focus from urban practitioners on usability, livability, and the experiential values in urban environments, attention to the soundscape becomes of central importance. Unfortunately, the way that sound in the environment is currently dealt with is concerned with noise pollution and the negative aspects of the human response to sound, and it doesn't really consider the full spectrum of the human acoustic experience. The current paradigm for managing noise is mitigation and control, and the legislation, policies and guidelines that deal with unwanted sounds focus on noise levels. Now, the problem with this approach is that the subjective human interpretation of sound is ignored. Assessing the soundscape in terms of how quiet or how loud it is doesn't really do anything towards protecting high-quality soundscapes. That is, soundscapes that are valued by people. Some environments contain, or their acoustic character is of quite high decibel levels. However, they are valued by people. The first slide I had of Paley Park in New York City, the average decibel level there is 78, which is approximately 15 decibels above the level that we sort of aim to achieve for human comfort. Crown Street in Surrey Hills is another example, and during peak periods, when people fill the streets, spilling onto the streets, it's all al fresco dining in that space, the decibel levels there are around 72. Yet again, it's higher than the levels that we aspire towards. It's the sources of the sound and the meanings that we associate with those sounds that determine the perceived quality, not just the decibel levels. So there's a need to overcome the scientific approach, which remains, at best, capable of grasping noise as a function of decibels, and to ask instead the type of acoustic character the places in which we live, work and play should contain. Okay, the soundscape is comprised of a vast array of stimuli, each representing a wealth of information capable of producing a variety of environmental experiences. Negative experiences of the soundscape, which could be considered as noise pollution, are on the rise in urban environments. Cities produce multiple sources of noise in order to function. These include increased volumes of road, rail and air traffic, commercial activities, industrial land uses and residential living. As a result, people are exposed to high levels of noise which can impact upon our quality of life, our health and our overall experience in our neighbourhoods and our cities. Urban planners and other built environment professionals are specifically concerned with shaping cities and towns to be sustainable, to be socially healthy and economically vibrant places in which to live, work and play. City visions, however, plans and developments have tended to place a strong focus on the visual urban aesthetics rather than focusing on all the senses and the impact they have on our experience in the city. The auditory landscape is rarely taken into account, and sound has rarely been considered as a factor of urban quality. In New South Wales, a community survey, the only one that I've come across, that was done in 2004, found that as many as 1.5 million people are exposed to outdoor noise levels that affect their quality of life. In Sydney alone, bringing it back a bit closer to home, over 100,000 noise complaints are made to authorities each year. And it's worth mentioning that there's no central agency that deals with all noise complaints, so we don't really know the nature of what these complaints are or the sources of sound that are leading people to complain. So judging by the number of complaints, people are becoming increasingly irritated by urban noise. Now, the noisy maelstrom of the modern city can at times be overbearing, with people exposed to an overwhelming amount of noise. Urban stimulation can easily deteriorate into overstimulation, which can result in people becoming blasé in the modern city. The lack of quality soundscapes is leading to urban inhabitants disengaging from their surrounds as they reconfigure their relationship to the environment. Each morning, millions of city dwellers tune out to their environment with their earphones and music, then navigate their way through an urban setting. This morning on the bus on the way here, and I don't normally catch public transport, 17 people were wearing iTunes, iPods, earphones on that, which is over half of the people on that bus. Now, with an increase in the usage of these portable music players, people are able to deconstruct and reconstruct their meanings of the city. And in doing so, they reconfigure not only their relationship with the city, but also the city itself. I quote that from Simon. Past research has also been conducted on the use of portable media players and suggests that these devices enable individuals to shape their experience of place, others and themselves. And in doing so, they experience a greater control as they can transform their urban journeys into private and pleasurable spaces. Now, this self-induced isolation enables users to mediate the overwhelming and overstimulating nature of the city. However, the implications are that it's changing social behaviour within society and ultimately people's awareness of, connection to and sense of place. And we're seeing that with the rise of, in transport statistics, the amount of people and accidents that are happening of people with their earphones in will step out and causing accidents, completely oblivious to their surrounds. Now, questions about the quality of the urban soundscape become even more pressing as we try to understand why it is that people are choosing to shut out and step out of their surrounds and exclude the outside world from their experiences. And this quote also for one of my research participants shows that for her it's about autonomy and the masking of unwanted sounds. She says, I like to listen to what I want to listen to. If I'm on public transport, it's to drown out sounds. People have the most stupid conversations on public transport, and I don't need to hear that. Now, music players aside, sounds, or should I say noises, that are encountered in particular places can lead to people avoiding such places. This quote on the screen demonstrates that this resident avoids certain areas of her neighbourhood in part due to the sounds, or for her, noises, that are associated with that place. As for this resident, they alter the way in which they go through their neighbourhood to escape and to escape the sounds that they'd encounter along busy roads. It says, it's unpleasant to walk along and just hear traffic sounds. That's pretty much all you hear, so I go the back way, where there are less busy roads. Now, places that lack quality acoustic features and are full of noise do not provide a rich soundscape experience and can lead to a sense of disconnection between people and place. Such a disconnection can result in places that convey little meaning, and urban settings that lack distinctive personalities can result in people suffering from a sense of placelessness. Rolfe, in his past research back to the 1976 conceptualisations of placelessness, sees that if we ignore the meanings that places bring to people's mind, we destroy authentic places and make inauthentic ones. And this sameness of urban places can diminish a sense of place. Murray Schafer, who was one of the pioneers of the soundscape research, he claims that today the world suffers from an overpopulation of sounds. There is so much acoustic information that little of it can emerge with clarity, and it's no longer possible to know what, if anything, is to be listened to. Now, high-quality soundscapes are not necessarily about lowering the sound levels or about silence. It's about enabling and fostering acoustic diversity and richness. It's about enhancing our acoustic experience of place. It's about the preservation of wanted and valued sounds and ensuring that not all places become homogenised, indistinctive and sound the same, exacerbating the negative connotations of placelessness. As Nancy mentioned earlier and as Hazel mentioned during the question time, what can be placeless for one can be place for another, which brings to mind a quote that I'm sure many of you would have heard, that one man's noise is another man's music. Thank you.